if you're looking for a bank that's extremely secure, it's probably one that's already been breached because they realize how bad it was to have that situation happen and absolutely do not want it to happen again.
Hello, my name is Kate Moody. You can call me Ms. Moody. I am your money librarian, here to help you outsmart your money so you can have more savings, more fun, and less stress. Today, I am joined by internet security expert Matt Meis to talk about internet security, banking security, how to make sure that you are being safe online, and more importantly, that your money is safe online. Matt has all three authority factors that I look for when I'm searching for people to trust on information. Yay! Matt runs Domain Alarm, a internet security service. Can you tell us a little bit about what your business does?
Yeah, so our business stops criminals right as they're setting up infrastructure to attack people. So we want to make sure that people are safe, they're not losing their credentials to phishing sites. And so we detect them and take them down for our clients, which are normally banks and credit unions.
Because that's exactly what we're concerned about today.
Right.
Cool. Give me the lowdown. How do we secure our bank accounts, password rules, and your thoughts on two-factor authentication?
Yes, so let's go into two-factor authentication first. So, and sometimes you'll hear it multi-factor authentication. Both those are the same. The whole idea is that you have something you know, which is your password, and something you have, which is your second factor. So normally the something you have is your phone, because most people have their phones on them, and they can get a code that's a one-time code to log in.
Like texted to them usually, right?
Yeah, so texting is one form of two-factor authentication. Another one is a authenticator app. So Google and Microsoft both have great authenticator apps, and they generate a code then in the app instead of getting a text message.
Okay, but you can use that on like any website, even though it doesn't have to be a Google website. It's just any website.
Nope. Any website that supports authentication services beyond texting. And so there's a lot that do. I maybe only have 10 to 15 that I use authentication apps for, but those are the most important accounts to me.
Okay, great. All right.
The rest is text messages and things like that.
Okay, all right. Please tell me more.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I guess why would you have two-factor authentication, right? So you want to have this second factor because it eliminates a lot of the risk to just having a username and password. We've seen and talked about lots of breaches that have happened recently. If your username and password was retrieved in that breach, they could then try that same username and password on many sites. And maybe you had a Nike.com site login, and now that's the same login as your bank. That would be really bad, right? Now you're trusting that Nike is securing your bank account password. So
that's a good way to think about it.
Right? Yeah. And so, and nothing against Nike, right? They're not a bank, and they're not going to take the same steps on your account. So you want to have different passwords, and then you want to have this two-factor because then it ensures that the fraudster doesn't have your device, right? So then now they have to contact you to try to get that code and try to get it from you in a nefarious way.
Okay. And is it impossible to fake two-factor authentication with a text message if I don't use an authenticator and I'm just getting text messages?
Yeah, so text messages have been broken for 2 years. You could receive someone else's text messages and get into their account using that two-factor method. So if you can set up an authenticator app for your logins, do that for sure.
Okay. Is it hard to set up the authenticator?
No, it's the same thing as with your text message. So most of the time with the Google app, you'll get a QR code on your screen, and it says, point your phone at this. And now it's set up. So it's as easy as taking a picture on your phone to set up a new authentication app.
Okay, well, that is very simple then. Great, good to know. Any suggestions with passwords when we make passwords? Like is a guest or 1 2 3 4 or the word password?
So there's definitely the top 1,000 list of passwords, and one of the top ones is password 1234. And then people are like, oh well, you have to have a capital and a special character, capital P password 1234 exclamation point. So you'll see those things a lot. What I recommend is to have a long, unique password for every single service you log into. So I don't have the same password on any of the same services. It's always different. I try to get a 16-character password.
Mm.
And when you think about that long of a password, it seems really difficult to remember, right? Because you have to have all these requirements. There's two ways around that. So one is you think of a phrase. So my cat loves cheeseburgers.
It's true. It is 100% true.
And so that's pretty long, right? I don't know. Let's just say that's 15 characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you could replace a couple of the letters with numbers, replace the E's with 3's, add an exclamation point at the beginning. And now it's a very secure password that's long, but super easy for you to remember.
Okay.
So that helps a lot.
Okay, that's
the
great.
other thing that you can do with passwords is use a password manager.
Yes, which I have started after having talked with you. I started using a password manager, and I'm like, life changing. It is so much easier now.
And when I say I use a unique password for every site, I actually don't know any of my passwords. I think I have one password memorized, and that's to get into my password manager. And so the rest, I just have the password manager generate something random. And even if someone was interrogating me, I couldn't let them in. I don't know. So that makes it easy for me. If I don't know it, it's harder for a criminal to have it.
Do you have any recommendations for particular password managers to go with?
So there are a couple that a lot of people use and they don't even know it. So built into Google Chrome or Firefox, they can save the password for you.
Mm-hmm.
I like to opt for a little bit more, one with more options. So LastPass is the one I use, but 1Password is another great option as well. Both of them can keep secure notes, secure pictures, or passwords or passphrases and things like that too. So definitely check those out. One cool thing that I do with LastPass is I share passwords with family, right? So everyone wants to share the Netflix password. You can easily do that with LastPass, but even outside of that, if we have a certain account that's joint, it's easier that way.
That must be really nice too, especially like with couples and bank accounts, because usually one person in the relationship is in charge of all of the money. But,
right.
Both people do need to access that stuff too.
And this is a beautiful thing. Now that, security people like to talk about the bad things. So I'm going to talk about this scenario. If you die tomorrow, how does someone handle, so physical things are really easy, but how does someone handle your online virtual life?
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have access to any passwords or login information, it's really tough. One cool thing about password managers is they solve this issue by giving you an ability to say like a beneficiary of your account. So if I died, my wife can provide the death certificate to LastPass and they will give her access to all of my account passwords.
Oh, wow. That morbid, but like,
yes,
but really useful.
This is kind of like your technical will. Okay. I look at that as that option.
Oh, that's smart. That's a good idea. All right. So you said LastPass and 1Password are two big, well-known, good password managers.
Password managers. Yes,
great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Stop the Fish is a kind of a public service. And what we're doing with Stop the Fish is there's some great blog articles coming out on there. And it's ways to really learn more about the banking system, ways that it's being attacked, and then ways that you can help protect yourself and your organizations. So absolutely check out stopthefish.org. There's some great content up there and we're continually updating it. We're going to have a new blog series called Fish Fry Fridays. So please tune in for that. It's going to be talking about different phishing issues that companies are having and how it affected them and how they could have prevented it.
Does it come with deep fried pickles too?
Maybe cheese curds. I don't know.
Awesome. That's a good idea. Yes. And I really like your newsletter. It is ultra nerdy. And so like just nice little tidbits of like, here's what's going on too. What's the name of your newsletter again? Or
Sec Fraud Ops. I post every Tuesday with basically just general articles that are out there in the news about new ransomware that's happened, or here's how organizations can do better using zero trust, and then sometimes a fun article about grandmas winning the lottery. So you never know what you're going to find in there. I like to vary it all the time. But
I do like it. You're a great aggregator of all these little things because I just need little nuggets. Like I've got a lot of stuff to keep up on, and I do want to keep up on this stuff, but it's not my job. Like that's your job.
Yeah, I summarize all the articles, so it's easier. Yeah.
Perfect. Can you tell me what is identity theft insurance and like who should look into getting identity theft insurance?
Absolutely. So we talked about LifeLock a little bit. They actually are great because they're insurance. So
except for that one time where that guy had his social security stolen.
Well, so that's actually the point of life or identity theft insurance, right? It's if your identity is stolen, now they're here to help you recover, right? So a lot of them offer $1 million of coverage to help you, get a new social security card, get your documents back. If let's say you had them physically stolen, you could help repair your credit with the credit bureaus and the amount of time that you might have to take off of work to do these kind of things. So having that kind of insurance is great because it gives you that peace of mind to say, well, if this happens, and to me, it's not if this happens, it's when this happens because of the Equifax breach. Everyone's data is out there. It's not hard to buy. A whole identity is probably about $5 right now. So it's just
quite cheap.
Yes, it's super cheap. You can buy a social security number for under $1 pretty fast.
Cool.
You might not be able to buy a specific person's, but you can buy a social security number, which is usually all they care about. It's just to impersonate somebody. Okay. And in fact, people with children, it's especially important because most children don't have any established credit or have really no fingerprint on the internet or in finances. So they're great people to impersonate.
So does identity theft insurance, do they keep an eye out for impersonators or when it gets stolen?
Yeah, so the coverage is the huge part, but a lot of them, to differentiate themselves, do look on the dark web, or they look for breaches that are public and say, hey, your information was in this breach. We just thought you should know that you may be more vulnerable now than you were in the past. When a criminal actually does it, you're going to have different call signs. So your data being out there and knowing about it is good. But then now them actually using that data, they're going to try to do some things. So they might try to get out a loan or take out a credit card or mortgage a house or something like that. And those indicators are things that will show up on your credit report, which a lot of these identity theft providers will give you more than one. So Credit Karma is a great site. Check your credit report every year, but if you want to check it every month or more, that usually comes with the identity theft insurance.
Okay.
So yeah, they have a lot of cool things like that. And like I said, it's not an if, it's more of a when for a lot of people. Last year there was over 1 million people in the United States that had their identity stolen. That's up over 100% from the previous year. And so that I expect to just keep rising. Definitely want to have something to cover yourself if there's an identity theft issue.
Okay, and could you clarify for me, like you said, it's insurance, so they'll give you money if something happens.
Yeah, for example, there was a loan taken out of $500,000 to buy a house.
Okay,
well, that and then money can help cover that.
Okay, but you also mentioned about getting new social security number, new records, that kind of. Do they help you with that, or is it just like here's some money so you can take some time off work and deal with that yourself?
Yeah, so I don't know about a new number. That's really tough. and we could go a long rabbit hole into Social Security and how it should never have been used outside of Social Security, but now it's used everywhere. And there's hundreds of people each year that are marked as dead in the Social Security system that aren't. Becoming not dead in the Social Security system is almost impossible. But if you're marked as dead, you can't have credit. So there's a real problem for these people that are in that situation. So you are more or less stuck with the same Social Security number. It's very hard to get a new one. But physical documents, because you actually need the physical card a lot of times. So a breach, you may not lose those physical documents, but a fire or a theft, you might. And I know my family had that problem. We had a theft in the home. We have a safe deposit box thing in the basement so that a fire won't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all it has is important documents. There's no money or jewels or anything.
No stacks of gold.
Documents we don't want to have burn, and that's what they took. So there was a lot of things to recuperate from that kind of event.
Oof, I am sorry. That had to be a nasty knot to untangle.
Yes, and it was lucky because it was at my parents' house when I was younger, so I didn't have to deal with it as much. But it was not a fun scenario for us at all.
Now, how much does identity theft insurance cost about? Do you know?
Yeah, it's about $100 a year for an individual, maybe a little bit more. I know for myself, I do family coverage as well. So for a family of 4, it's $400. And so then I can monitor my kids' important information as well.
Can you get that through most insurance companies now, or do you usually have to go?
Yeah, so there are a lot of insurance companies that offer it. I went to a very specific one with Identity Force. There's actually another one. If I look, LifeLock and Identity Force are two of the biggest ones that they offer great insurance and then additional things on top of it. So your traditional insurance company is mostly just going to give you insurance for it. Mm-hmm. Some of these specific ones around identity are also doing that monitoring and active scanning to help you be aware of issues.
All right. Yeah, that seems like it's really worth.
It's worth it if you want to know.
Yeah.
If you don't want to know that your data's out there, which it is, but if you don't want to know it, then you can just wait until it happens and then have your insurance to manage that at that time.
And can you tell us the difference between identity theft insurance and locking your credit?
Yes, so locking your credit or freezing your credit, there's actually two different things here. So locking your credit is usually enrolling in a program with some of the credit bureaus. So there's the top 3 credit bureaus, and they all have a different type of credit lock. And basically you sign up for an account to lock your credit, and then they do some extra monitoring. It's free at 2 of them, it's paid at another one, but so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That is like an advanced step of freezing your credit. You can freeze your credit as well, and this is free at all the credit bureaus, and there's actually 5. So there's 3 main ones and then 2 bonus ones. So we'll talk about those a little bit, but it's important to freeze your credit at all of them. And what this is, freezing your credit is saying, hey, if someone requests information about me, don't give it to them without my consent. Which seems like just a normal thing.
It seems like something they shouldn't be doing anyways, actually.
Yes. So for example, a bank, when you go to get a loan, they have to go run your credit. Mm-hmm. If your credit's frozen, they can't get it. And so you have to unfreeze it for them to pull it, and then you can refreeze it again.
Okay.
So most of the time you unfreeze your credit for a day or 2 to do a new loan or a new credit card, and that's it. The rest of the time you leave it frozen, and people aren't going to be able to try to set up new requests without your permission.
Okay, so that's being frozen.
Yes. And the locking is enrolling in these programs, and then they do a little bit more advanced monitoring. So if you haven't froze your credit at the credit bureaus, do that first, and then start looking into locking. But thinking about the credit bureau, so it's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Mm-hmm. So absolutely freeze your credit at all of those. And then the other 2 bonus ones are Inovis and National Customer or Consumer Telecom and Utilities Exchange. So I'll say that one more time because it's a mouthful.
Thank you.
The National Consumer Telecom and Utilities Exchange.
Okay.
So those 5, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, Inovus, and the last one. Those 5 really encompass the main credit bureaus that people are going to be pulling your credit or trying to take out a new lien against you.
All right. And if you want to freeze your credit, you have to contact all 5, or does does that start like a domino effect if you freeze it at one?
Yeah, you have to contact each one individually.
Okay.
So there are some services that'll do it for you, and then they'll ask to pay, and it's not necessary. I think it's better to contact them and understand that process yourself. And it may seem like a pain initially, but I will say once it's frozen, you really aren't doing anything with your credit after that. Like you're not requesting a loan every week.
Mhm.
So unfreezing it is actually super easy because usually they only request, like for my credit union, when I went to refinance my house, they only asked to say, hey, we're going to contact TransUnion. So you only have to unfreeze that one. So one call, it was unfrozen and they could run the credit.
Oh. Why aren't they just frozen all the time?
Yes. Yes, I'm surprised it's not the default, and it's annoying. The problem is I don't think there's any regulation for them on this side of it, and these are all private companies. Well, public sector, not run by the government, so yeah. They can really do what they want at this point.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much. That's really useful, and I like your term, the bonus companies, because I always just talk about the big 3.
They're a lot lesser known, but they are used in some services in some sectors. So. And
they're not on annualcreditreport.com, I don't think.
No, I will say I don't have the link handy, but NerdWallet has a really good overview of all of these different companies and what they do. I actually didn't know. I knew about Inovus. I didn't know about the other one until last month or so.
Passwords. You said use nice long phrases that are easy to remember, but just change a couple things. To never use the same password twice, or at least on very important websites like emails, Facebook. Yeah.
Those 3 at least need to be very unique from anything else that you have.
Banking, email, and Facebook?
Yes, at least those 3.
Okay. Potentially start using an authenticator, and you said Google has one, Microsoft has one. That's a good idea.
LastPass has one. Okay. If you can't use an app, at least text message is good.
Password. I want to say password rememberers. That's right. Not a word.
Password managers.
Thank you. Password managers.
I will tell you that a lot of, especially the 2 I recommended with LastPass and 1Password, they have really good security practices that it is unlikely that they're going to have a problem. Mm-hmm. And if they have a problem, you've done this with every other website that's been hacked, you change your password.
Anything else you can think of off the top of your head you want to make sure that people know, or that you want to really underline and like highlight exclamation point?
Yes. 2-factor authentication is the best way to mitigate risks for your accounts. Absolutely have it on every account. If you're looking for security within banks and how to protect yourself at a bank, make sure that they offer that. If your bank doesn't offer that, that would not be a bank I'd bank at. If you're looking for a bank that's extremely secure, it's probably one that's already been breached, because they realize how bad it was to have that situation happen and absolutely do not want it to happen again. So I would not shy away from banks that have been breached before. They're probably in a really good position now to combat that going forward.
That's a really good point. I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but now that you have sort of framed it, like, yeah, they know how bad it is.
For example, I'd say 75 to 85% of people that have identity theft don't have identity theft insurance, and I bet all of them have it after it happens, right? So it's the same is true with companies. Once they have a bad experience, they don't want that taste again.
I would like to thank Matt Meis from domainalarm.com, internet security extraordinaire, for all the amazing information he gave us today. And I feel like you've cleared the air, given us a very crisp picture, but not so much detail that we can't understand what's going on.
Yes, it was awesome being here. And if you need any more less confusing things, feel free to check out Stop the Fish, and we have some great explanations. Even Domain Alarm, we have some really great explanations of how these things work and why they work. So
yeah, and I will put links down below for Domain Alarm, Stop the Fish, and the newsletter.
Perfect. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you again.
Bye.
Cheers. Have a good day. So I used to be a librarian, and when I do book reviews, I talk about 3 factors of authority. So in order to know who to trust when it comes to information, you generally look for 3 things. The first one is, are they a subject authority? Have they studied the material in an academic setting? What was your degree in again?
Computer Information Systems from UWSP.
Excellent. So that's, boom, 1 major source of authority. 2 is your societal position. Like, do you hold a role on a board or on a chair or in your job that give you special insight into this particular topic? And Matt has worked for how many years in IT and security? And
I've been in IT for over 10 years and in fraud and security for the last 5. And most recently, I started teaching IT security at Midstate.
Yeah. So boom, 2 types of authority. And then the third is personal experience. If you've actually lived through like a historic event, and I guess just sort of being a person online, that gives you personal experience. So Matt has all 3 authority factors that I look for when I'm searching for people to trust on information. Yay,